All right. So for this lesson, this series of lessons, we are going to be talking about solving polynomial equations. All right. So kind of similar to how we got you into solving equations in the first place, we are now going to solve polynomial equations. So equations that a lot of times will have a higher degree than 2, right? So not a linear equation and not necessarily a quadratic equation. So the goal of everything is always to get it into some kind of a factored linear form or something where we can get x or y or whatever variable we're solving down to a degree of 1, so we can find out what one of them is worth. So that's where we're at. Again, I apologize about the squeaky chair, but that's, gotta get a microphone, and that's a little ways off. So we're just gonna kind of deal with it and be good with it. All right. So we will talk about solving equations that are already factored. And then we will look at ones where we have to factor them first, and then we have an application problem, and probably a video for each. So let's get started. Okay, so zero product property. So this is the exact same as what we encountered earlier. And if you don't remember, basically what it says is whenever you have a bunch of things that are multiplying by each other, right, and they're equal to 0. So the key to this is the same as the others, where a lot of times you want to, if you're going to factor something, you want to get it equal to 0, right? That's the goal. Okay, and so if we do that, right, then what we're going to do is we are going to assume that at least one of these must be 0. So in order for this to be true, right, this either needs to be 0, or this needs to be 0, or this needs to be equal to 0, or this needs to be equal to 0, because it's basically 4 different things multiplying by each other. And if any one of them is 0, then it zeroes out the whole thing and it makes it work. So all of these in some case will make it true. So this is a problem that we'll likely have 4 solutions. Okay, so let's 4 distinct solutions, and if not, it might have some doubles or whatever, but it will have four roots. Okay, so what you do is you break it up into its component parts, right? So you say to yourself, okay, I've got this part, right? Like, so that would be like part 1. We got this part. This is part 2. Right, we got this part, this is like part 3, and we got this part, and this is part 4. So you just kind of go down the line, and you don't have to do it this way. I'm just showing it this way. So our first case, right, so this would be case 1, right? Let me change the font here. Would be where x, and you set the whole factored thing equal to 0. In this case, it's just x. You have x equals to 0. There's nothing to do here. This is done, right? So check, you're good. All right, let's move on to the next one. So your case 2, all right, is where 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. All right, so you go 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. And then we think about, how do we solve these things? Well, you want to get x by itself. And in order to do that, you got to get the term with x by itself first. So if it's adding something, you're just going to subtract. So we're going to subtract that. We're going to get 2x equals -1. And then in order to get x by itself, in this case, it's being multiplied by 2. So we divide. And then you get x is equal to -1/2. All right. And then you have case 3. All right. And case 3 is this one right here. 3x minus 5 is equal to 0. Right, so 3x minus 5 is equal to 0. We're going to do the exact same process we did over here. Let's move this 5 first. So we're going to add it to both sides. Or you can think about it as moving it across the sign, and when you do that, it changes signs, right? Both will get you to the same spot. And then divide by 3, and you get a fraction, right? X equals 5/3, all right, which we will deal with because we can handle fractions now. This last one is x minus 6. This is probably the easiest of these last 3, right? You just add 6 to both sides because you want to get x by itself. And when you do that, all right, you get x is equal to 6. Okay, and that's it. So we've got our 4, in this case, we have 4 distinct solutions. And so when I write my answer for this, right, for me, I would go, I guess I'll put it at the bottom here. So you would go x is equal to, and then I would do this. I'll start with the negative one because I usually go from least to greatest. Negative 1/2, 0, 5/3, and 6. So I try to organize them from least to greatest, right? The negative ones will be first. 0 obviously is between the negative and positive, and then 5/3 is not quite 2, so that's smaller than 6. So that's kind of how the zero property works, right? If you guys kind of remember that. And so when it's factored like that for us, it's just a matter of doing some multi-step simple problem solving, right? That you guys are all very comfortable with and have done for a while. So hope this helps, and we'll see you in the next vid.